Manon! It's that time again. Welcome to Fantasy Football. The Fantasy Football podcast is 2 parts fantasy, 1 part football. It's all about picking our favourite fictional characters and pitting them against each other in a 5-a-side football match. With me, David Utteridge, is my co-host, Rob Lambert, and we'll be walking you through our picks from goalkeeper to centre-back to centre midfield, winger and striker to face off around a certain topic or theme. This week, Rob was the home team, so he got to pick the theme and his players and positions first. Would that advantage be enough, or could I counter him with some fantastic picks of my own? Let's get into the match. Hello, Rob. How are you?
I'm okay, you?
Yeah, all good. Ready for another week of fantasy football?
I think so, yeah. Are you?
Well, I was, and then I found out the theme. So Rob tells me the theme on a Sunday night, and we record on a Wednesday night. And this week has thrown me a bit. So why did you pick this week's theme, Rob?
To be honest, like I tend to pick the themes based on something that's happened the week before because I try to be topical, but I'm kind of like belatedly topical, which kind of defies the point of being topical. But I'm not sure if you've seen it yet, but I watched Zack Snyder's Justice League because I managed to find 12 hours to spare to get through it all. And when I was watching, because the thing is, obviously, I didn't want to go straight to DC heroes or DC villains or something like that, because I know we did Marvel heroes, Marvel villains only a couple of weeks ago. But when I was watching that, I was trying to sort of think, we could have gone for aliens or a few other different things. And then one of the things that stood out about that film is that the character of Cyborg is he's just far more advanced, and there's far more to him than there was in the original version, which is true of the whole film, really. There's far more to it than the first version had, because the first version didn't really make any sense and was just a bit of a mess. But there was he's an American football player, in college, but he plays American football, and he's in a car crash. But in the original one, he's sort of like made to be really dull and whiny, and it's kind of I know he's been in a big mess, and there's literally pretty much his head left, and then the rest of him is like the body of an android. But even with that, you're like, God, stop moaning all the time. But with the
Wow.
new one,
wow,
they structure it in a better way in the new one, where you think, God, he's fair play to him, he's doing his best, and it just made me think that maybe that's a good way to go down. So between the fact that he's involved in sport and he's a robot, I thought that would be perfect for our podcast. So I've gone for robots this week.
So I suppose the burning question for any sci-fi buffs out there will be how rigorously we're applying the term robot as opposed to cyborg and android and others. I guess What we're saying is kind of like something mechanical based, so long as there's like a mechanical part to it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Even when I was picking my team, really, I saw sort of just anything to do with automation came in, and it nearly got to a point where I thought of including, those little circular vacuum cleaners that just go around the house automatically hoovering up. I thought you could have that. You wouldn't, unless you do, but you could. So a lot of things fall into the category. And I mean, it's even harder to define if you think of the film The World's End, where they constantly define a robot as being a slave. So that could be, you can go as mad with that as you want, but I've kind of stuck to mostly upright human-like robot people or characters. But it was surprising. It's a lot harder to pick than I thought it would be. I kind of thought this would be similar to past weeks where we'd have so many ideas, but it ended up being very difficult to pick.
Yeah, I've had a nightmare week, so it's definitely on you to win. You did send me my prize. There's always a prize. I won last week.
Did you enjoy it?
Not especially. It
Oh,
was a packet of yeah, like from a well, but a multi-pack
yeah,
of tissues. You'd sent me a single pack from a multi-pack with
yeah,
Sharpie writing on it, just like for when you lose.
yeah,
It's creative, but I mean, just just not really in the spirit of the game. We are friends.
yeah. But I mean, I thought I just think packets of tissues are quite useful.
Yeah, but jibey messages.
Well, yeah, but it was just like a running joke that I've now started.
Well, joke's on you because I've got a bit of a cold, so I've
Oh,
used
right.
them before I've lost, which I will
Oh,
do this week. I'm
I
trying to
certainly hope
vacate.
so.
So I think next up is probably talk a little bit about our team names.
Oh, of course, my favourite bit, which this week I've actually really struggled with again.
Yep.
Normally I don't struggle. Normally that's the bit that just is. I mean, my choices are very poor, admittedly, but but it's a bit I enjoy doing, and it kind of rolls off the tongue. But this week it's been so difficult even to do that bit. Normally they're just the worst puns I can think of. But yeah, what do you want to go first?
Yep, yep. This whole week has been such a struggle. So I'm gonna. It's not. It's not great.
Yeah.
So you know the Pixar film Wall-E?
Yes. Which is probably one of my favorite Pixar films, actually. So
Yeah, it's my
I already,
favorite by some distance. I just think it
yeah,
shows exactly where humanity is going, but that's for
yeah,
another week. Um, we know his, I suppose, love interest,
yeah. That's
Eva.
fair. Yeah.
Um, I've just called the team Eva Ton.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's all right. I think it gets better as time goes on. You think, oh yeah, maybe he has tried. I really haven't. It
Yeah.
I sort of got that and then left it. So, low bar. What have you
But one good thing is that I'm going to name so many that it'll just kill the whole concept.
got?
If that helps. Um, I actually, yeah, I went through a few like always, but so I'll go through sort of my other picks. I mean, there's bound to be times where we're going to have some overlap from past episodes. So, taken from episode 3, the Marvel villains episode, I've had to once again reference Ultron Atkinson because again that applies. But
Strong.
I need to mention it. I've also got the Stepford Jordan Ibes,
Wow.
like Stepford Wives Jordan Ibe. I've got Hal Robson Carnu 3000. Like HAL 3000 from Space Oddity.
Wow.
I've got Rodney Parade Runner, which I'm very proud of. Newport County's ground. I had to
Niche.
throw this in. I had to throw this in somewhere. I've got I Robot Lewandowski.
Ooh.
I mean, that's just anyone with Robert in the name. So really, I could have had my own name, but that would be a bit self-centered. Again, I've kind of gone through a similar joke as I had before by having Terminator Key United.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's I'm sure I've done the Torquay United thing before, but that's
Yeah, you did Loki, I think.
that was it,
Yeah.
yeah. But maybe I'll just do that every week, and it'll just be like, oh, brilliant! There we go. There's that again. Um, I'm actually really happy with this one, Hansi Kit. So like Hansi Flick, but with Kit from Knight
How
Rider.
is that not your name?
And this one's probably the smartest because there's two in it. But this isn't the one I've chosen. I've got Android Robertson. So Andrew Robertson, but Android Robertson. Very, very.
Yeah.
That was originally my team name until I came up with this one, which is VAR2D2.
Oh, well done.
Which originally that was going to be 4 R2D2, but that was a bit.
No, VAR2D2 that's a stroke of
R2D2 is
genius.
yeah. I was very happy with Android Robotsson, but the more I think about it, the more I think it wasn't good. But I did originally have Android Robotsson, and then I was like, no, just stop adding things to it now. It wasn't good to start with. But yeah, VAR2D2 is my team.
VAR2D2. I can't see how you're losing this week with that.
I've shot myself in the foot picking a theme that I've ended up being like, oh, maybe I should have like thought of who I could have in the team before I tell you what the theme is. But yeah, I'm still positive.
Well, good job then. We'll get into the match. VAR2D2, the home team, taking on Everton. Good luck. Have fun. Do that. I'll be centre back in your best Schwarzenegger accent.
You know what? I was thinking about doing it so much that I've talked myself out of it, but I probably should.
It's a free.
I want to start by going for a position that I wouldn't typically go for first. This is really because it's the first thing that came to my head when I came up with this as a theme, and I mean it's completely unavoidable, really. So at centre back, obviously, like every week, it's kind of predictable for me to go for someone strong and tall and ideally intelligent, but in this case, not quite so much. But I thought, like, who's like the tough guy defender? So I've gone for the T-800 from Terminator.
Nice.
The main Terminator. And because I thought, not only does it work in the sense that Arnold Schwarzenegger would be a good centre back, he's also ruthless as a character. Not even like intentionally, just because he has no inhibitions. He's just purely, he has one job, and in this case, it's to defend. But also, he can use the phrase "I'll be centre back."
Well, I think you've just won there.
I hope so. That's my trump card. So.
Wow. Yeah, great shot. There's not really a lot I can argue with there. I think I had thought of putting Terminator in my team, but he was also the first person that came into my head when you said robots.
Naturally.
Yeah, so I didn't bother. I didn't even bother like including him because I thought that's the first pick.
Yeah.
So there's like some sweet relief there in that I haven't ruined my pick. Bit annoying you've put me at centre back because I've got a strong pick out wide, but it's Terminator, so it's a tricky one. But my winger, if I said you are a bold one, would you have any idea?
Nothing comes to mind, but I feel like I'll somehow know it.
You obviously don't hang out that much on prequel memes. It's General Grievous from Star Wars.
Oh, that's a very good pick.
I'm glad you like it. So maybe we can flog the dead horse for a little bit longer, I guess.
As well. I mean, like when you think that during like picking our teams, it's so difficult to avoid Star Wars robots, and that is not one of the. I didn't even see or think of that one.
So he can run on all fours, which makes him, quite quick. All fours or all sixes? Because obviously he's got 4 arms.
Yeah.
So it might be 6. But I think it's 4, and then he pops the other 2 arms out. He's obviously dangerous in attack, 4 lightsabers. A menacing sort of winger as well. Like he'd come with quite a dangerous reputation. He's shown good leadership qualities in the...
Phantom menacing, you could say.
Oh...
The pun section's over. Sorry.
Stop now. This is football. And I thought he was slight. So I was reverting back to more of a quick, tricky, kind of attack-focused wide man this week. Heck, coming up against the T-800 is
I mean, I don't want to be cocky, but I feel like that's like the kind of winning hand I've got, and I feel like there's no avoiding.
I will concede right now this would be probably the quickest goal anyone's ever scored if you...
All right, well, we're going to lose all the Austrian followers. I'll be centre back.
1-0.
We've both said really this week's been a bit of a tough week for picking our team and even picking the name of our team. But once again, I'm not going to go for the obvious. I started with a defender. I'm going to go even more defensive. My second pick I want to pick is my goalkeeper. Now I'm not sure if have you ever seen the film RoboCop?
I have.
But I'm not picking RoboCop.
Okay.
I'm picking the ED-209, which is the massive robot that the same company that created RoboCop also created, which is absolutely unstoppable. For people who haven't seen it, it's like a massive pod with arms and legs and turrets all over it. And I think automatically I thought that's going to be my goalkeeper.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's a pretty strong pick.
Mine's very like aggressive team. Mine's like a Atletico Madrid setup, really, just pure power and strength and putting fear into the opponent's brain more than like technical or tactical ability.
Yeah, just intimidation. Hey,
yeah,
it's a managerial philosophy that I suppose someone can get behind.
Yeah.
But yeah, good pick. Well, I've probably gone a little bit off piste, but how familiar are you with One Punch Man?
I've heard of One Punch Man.
Okay, so I can lie. No, so One Punch Man's like probably my favorite manga / anime going around. Started off as a webcomic. It's still going as a webcomic, which is ahead of the manga, and then the manga itself is ahead of the anime, which is currently at season 2. And we're all hoping for a season 3. But I have gone Cyborg, Genos.
Oh right, I was going to say I didn't know he was a robot.
Yeah, so he's basically a bit like no, he's quite a sort of pretty boy in a way, but he's got this like determination to become stronger and as powerful as Saitama, who is One Punch Man, who, as the name suggests, can defeat any opponent with a single punch.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not mechanical, so couldn't pick him. So Genos is like determined to become stronger. He's mostly machine. So he's got things like an incineration cannon. He's got like loads of different things. The reason why he's up front for me in a striker position is because he does often end up at the end of a battle. It's kind of like a familiar trope, is that he'll be fighting and then when he starts losing, he realizes he might have to self-destruct. So he often ends up like a bit of a smoking wreckage, but up front, that's going to be dangerous. That's like launching yourself at the goal. That's taking everyone out of the game. If anything, it's like not so much 2-footing someone as just kind of like deliberately mashing into them with your head. Like,
yeah.
So he's just a very attacking character. So I was sort of leaning heavily on that. He's got a lot of like weapons in his arsenal. He's constantly evolving. So I'm going to take that to mean he'd get better as the game goes on. And I think coming up against the ED-209, we've got a nice balance of maybe like old school in goal versus kind of new school in attack for me.
It's funny because I think when you say that you've got a striker that has the chance of self-destructing, it just makes you think of like Lukaku at United or Werner at Chelsea. But
the former of those two, please. He does look a bit Werner-ish. If Werner had like kind of a pop star boy band haircut.
I'm not really sure what you compare my pick to. Just I don't know, like a Neville Southall.
It's got a Neville Southall vibe to it. It's that kind of like
big, bolshy, old-fashioned.
Yeah,
Very,
definitely.
very effective in the 80s. Well, I mean, it's a bit of a stalemate. How do we decide this then?
So I suppose if we're on Robots Week, what's a good robot test? Do you know? Shall we see if we've got a versus online? Ooh, I have found on Death Battle Fanon.
Oh, right.
Genos versus RoboCop, so it's not quite the
Oh, yeah.
ED209. This ends up. God, you've got to go through a lot of stuff, haven't you? Yeah, it ends with Genos then ran towards RoboCop, jumped into the air, and delivered one big punch to RoboCop's chest, breaking him apart.
See, that's bad news for me, because if RoboCop can defeat the ED209 and Genos can defeat RoboCop, then it's like that. It's like that thing where if say Leicester City beat West Ham, but then like Burnley beat Leicester, it's like, well, technically they're better than Leicester and West Ham then, because they've beaten.
Yep.
It's like
Law of the jungle,
as you
isn't it?
know, when we come down to this, I'll have to give it to you then.
That's fine. Honestly, I think I'm going to need that. The rest of my picks, maybe not so hot.
Every week on this, we've obviously formed more of like our own like rules, and I mean the kind of the Google rule has ended up being quite valid. And if anything, I must have done that first, because I didn't know how else to define the winner. Live by the sword, die by the sword. 1-1.
1-1.
I wasn't sure really in which direction to go next, because I kind of have swapped some of my picks in and out of the team, but I think I'm going to go with striker next and just get that boxed off. I changed really with the striker position, I tend to change it quite a lot, because it's always like your favourite position and you're never sure who to pick for it. But there was one pick which I actually originally had as like my sort of maybe like even like a manager pick, but I thought I've got to put them up front because they're the striker you want. You're familiar with Futurama?
Yeah.
There's a fair few good robots in that, including Calculon, the really dreadful soap actor, or there was actually the character of Clamps, one of the people within the like robot mafia. I nearly picked for Mobsters and Gangsters Week, but I had better options than that. But that was such a close one. But I couldn't avoid having Bending Rodriguez as my striker, because he's just got. I mean, it's attitude alone. He's strong and he's quick. I would think he's flexible, and I could see him being just quite a rough player. I don't think he'd be technical. He'd be ham-fisted, but he'd make it work. And it's just the attitude he has. He'd be a bit of a shithouse, really. but that works for some players. So I think that was another, like, really all these picks have been quite sort of heart over head picks. But yeah, I've gone for Bender.
Yeah, really, really nice pick. He was another one that I was pretty sure you'd say.
Yeah,
So I'm kind of glad you have picked him. I would have been upset if you hadn't picked him, because then none of us would have done, and that would have been a disservice to definitely one of the first 5 robots I thought of.
Yeah,
this is good.
The first 5 robots you thought of are the ones that I picked.
I've gone for a robot that's good at protecting the world, really. So I figured they'd be easily capable enough to protect a goal. Bit like the ED209 unit as well. So sort of fills the goal. So what I've gone for is I've gone for the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Megazord.
Oh
Expecting it?
no, not really. No, I didn't expect. No, I didn't
I,
expect. I didn't really expect any Power Rangers characters, but I don't know why not. Because there's a fair
so
few
I've
robots in it.
yeah, I've leaned quite heavily on childhood for
Yeah,
this week. I don't think it's unfair to say. Like most of these picks probably come from some sort of childhood, so it's like nostalgia week for me. But I do
yeah,
remember, like go go Power Rangers, you mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Like it's just
yeah,
sad for anybody to have to hear it sung by me.
yeah. But that's exactly how it sounded. So
I was fishing for a compliment, so
yeah,
that's good.
you know you'll get one from
Yeah,
me.
it is what it is. I really enjoyed it when I was younger.
Yeah,
The Megazords across all Power Rangers were pretty cool, but there was something kind of nice about the predictability. So it's like reliable, isn't it? Monster comes along, the Power Rangers fight it, they're getting overwhelmed, teamwork comes together, then the monster blows itself up into something huge. They then all Megazord up, have a good old fashioned fight, and in the end, the Power Rangers win. And in the
yeah.
end, the Megazord wins.
It's a tough one because I like. To be fair, I was always, especially Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie. I was like massively obsessed with when I was little. So I'm kind of torn.
I've hit you there. I mean, like, look, I'll give you some ammo back. I loved Futurama. I
Yeah,
absolutely loved Futurama. I still quite like The Simpsons, to be honest with you.
yeah.
So
Especially
there's
peak Simpsons, like 10 or 20 years ago. Peak.
there's definitely a groaning week coming in there.
Yeah, no,
Let's be
definitely.
real.
But I mean, I think the thing that kind of is my downfall a lot of the time when I have lost, which is far too much, is really picking players based on like a fondness rather than a tactical reason. I do kind of think maybe there's no way out of this round,
Ooh,
but there's still time for me to claw it back, and I think I will. So on that basis, I think that's 2-1 to you, unfortunately.
cool. 2-1 to me. You've got to score both to win it.
Obviously, well, as you can tell, this hasn't really gone the way I expected so far. But I think I'm going to try and get things a bit more on level ground by going to midfield, because I'd never seen the film Blade Runner until recently, and it's a very good film, to be fair. Maybe kind of more overhyped than it should be, but maybe that's me trying to be edgy. But there's a character in that called Roy Batty, and although he sounds like a Coronation Street character, he's actually like a very profound robot disguised as a human, and he's also he's sort of very, very clever and scheming and peculiar. But he's also very strong, because for a lot of the film, you sort of just see him as being like the thinker, and then out of nowhere he breaks loads of Harrison Ford's fingers, which is quite unpleasant. But he's like the thinking man's robot, and he's different to the robots. All other robots actually I've got in my team. So yeah, for my midfield option, I'm going for Roy Batty from Blade Runner.
Nice. Yeah. Obviously comes from the Philip K. Dick Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which is quite big for robots as well. So brownie points there.
And that's 2-2, yeah.
Yeah, well,
it worked for you, damn it.
You can but dream. So my centre midfield pick is another one from anime, manga, childhood. It's Android 17 from Dragon Ball.
Oh.
So specifically, we're talking. He's first introduced in the Cell Saga in Dragon Ball Z. It's an android who's unlimited stamina. They don't have any like energy. They don't have any ki, so they can't be spotted by our heroes who are looking to attack them and stuff. So I was mainly going on the stamina thing, to be honest with you. Having that in midfield, somebody that could keep running, like he's really powerful. He also wins there's like a big universal tournament of power that goes on in a recent series. That Android 17 is the last standing person, so wins it for his universe. That's in the tournament, including people like Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, Frieza, other big names like Jiren. So like these are some. Hopefully you've heard of one of those, but there's like Super Saiyans all over the place. There's like big hidden power levels, and Android 17 outlasts them all. So I was just going on the basis that he's quite strong, he's quite adept, he's a slight character. So again, he's like agile. So I'm thinking he's probably got a bit of everything. He's like a souped up, improved version of maybe a Mason Mount. Which I don't think actually does Android 17 any justice, but he's got a lot. He's got a lot. So I just thought five-a-side setting. You always want someone who's going to run about, get the ball, be sort of everywhere, cover a bit up front, cover a bit at the back. Android 17.
You make a good case. It's
a tricky one, so I've got to in order for this to be somewhat fair, Dragon Ball Z. That whole universe is like my favorite of all time. There's moments in that very well that one of my favorite tropes is the heroic sacrifice, and I was first introduced to that in Dragon Ball Z, and it just has a strong place in my heart. But I have to try and be fair rather than just going, no, I like it, so I win.
That's what you did last time, but okay.
Well,
you just did that.
I'm developing as a person.
Every round.
It's nice, isn't it? It's nice because then by the time next week comes back, I've regressed again. So I guess we're looking for a way to distinguish these, and I think.
I have, as you'd imagine, every time we go through a round, I do look up your pick versus my pick.
Yeah.
Just as a backup. But no, they've never come up against each other in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, good.
Sadly, not that I'm surprised because it'd be a bit weird, but Well, I don't know how else to compare them, but I know I'm definitely sticking by this pick because Roy Batty is a very, very clever and quite intimidating character. He makes a cracking speech. Everyone knows about that monologue he makes. You can't avoid that. He'd monologue the shit out of you.
That although Android 17 and Dragon Ball has a large legacy personally for me, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep has a wider legacy around.
I was going to say you seem to be quite knowledgeable about that, so that might do me a favor.
It's got such a wider legacy towards robots and sci-fi and all sorts of things. So I do think if I'm being totally true, whilst I may still like to think Android 17 wins, I think we end up being at another 2-2, which one week won't happen. We do.
Oh. Yeah,
we're just evenly matched.
This whole podcast is inadvertently a tribute to Desmond Tutu.
It really is. It really is.
And I never thought it would be, but it is. But in that case, as Roy Batty says, don't forget that all these moments will be lost in time, like tears in the. Well, it all comes down to this: my winger versus your centre back. I had a few ideas for. I'm kind of wary of giving them away in case it ruins your pick. But I suppose maybe we can go over that after. It's a tough one because normally I think I pretty much just go for pace every time, or I go for a sort of like a pick that's that kind of has some sort of sentimentality to is somewhere important to me. But with this one, I went for a bit of the second approach, but I also kind of went for the approach you sometimes go for, which is kind of like going for something that you may not expect, which I think is fair. But with it being my last pick, it's a bit more of a risky thing to do. But what I've done is I wanted to get a character that's quick but unpredictable, but also with a track record for always coming out on top. So what I've done is I've gone for one of the ultimate robots from any form of media, and I've gone for Johnny Five from Short Circuit.
Ooh, okay. I don't know that.
Because it's pretty much a very comical, almost like offensive robot. Because, well, more in the sense that a lot of the characters around it are like there's a guy who's meant to be Indian, but he's not at all. So they've Indianed him up, which is ridiculously offensive. The whole film's quite inappropriate now. But it's just completely ridiculous. But every time this robot it's not particularly quick and not particularly capable always comes out on top. But so somehow he always does it, and I've kind of gone for durability ahead of everything else. So that's my pick. A completely mad robot that kind of goes woo a lot and falls over, but somehow always wins.
Good pick. Coming up against what I would consider another robot that has a track record of winning. So this would be interesting. My centre back, and I would say probably a bit of a leader at the back as well.
Yeah,
is good friend of Shia LaBeouf. It's Optimus Prime.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Yeah, well, I thought he's a bit Virgil van Dijk. He's like big and strong, also quick. He's not going to get beaten in the air, is he? Not that really matters in five-a-side, but still. He could help going forward in attack. We've seen that. But he's got a proven track record as being, the world's greatest defender.
Yeah.
One of the world's greatest defenders. Okay, I can dial back. So yeah, I just thought, if I'm being completely true, am I thinking about the movie one with Shia the Beef?
Which we do. We tend to highlight which version we're going for.
Yeah, it probably isn't that one in my head, if I'm being honest with you. It's probably more animated Transformers is where I really loved it. But Michael Bay film. It's sometimes nice to turn your brain off at the door, isn't it?
Yeah. You can definitely do that with that.
Yeah, just like booming and stuff, people shouting the same name, but kind of slightly louder as the movie goes on.
People are like, what's the story in this? And you're like, I don't know. I'm not watching it for the story. I'm watching it for explosions.
Tangentially related. The other day I was flicking through channels and I saw like Megan Fox was doing some like mythical mystery series. I can't think what it was called, but she was looking for the city of Troy. Like she was looking for where it would have existed and stuff. And I just thought it was really weird. Like it wasn't what I've associated Megan Fox with typically, going and like checking out whether Troy existed and like myth busting and stuff. But if anybody can piece that together, then it was actually quite an interesting show. So, maybe we'll find that out afterwards. But just as a little nugget for people, if you're interested in myths and you sort of, enjoy Megan Fox as a person, and she seseemed pretty cool. Actually, she seemed quite down to earth. Was talking to like historians and was quite. It was really good. It was really good.
I thought it was like a series, so it's like an actual like documentary.
Yeah, I think she might have gone to a few different places, but this one, like she seemed really like knowledgeable on it as well. Yeah, I don't know if she's fed a script or not. I don't know that, but she seemed genuinely interested, which I suppose as an actor you'd think, well, yeah, she could act that, but I like to give her the benefit of the doubt. She seemed, it was a good show anyway. I put it on because I thought that isn't Megan Fox doing this, is it? And then I'd sort of watch the whole thing. It was
all right.
So, Optimus Prime versus
Johnny Five.
Johnny Five.
To be fair, for like pop culture face-off, it's a very tight one because they're both like proper icons. Optimus Prime more so, but for like 80s film icons, Johnny Five's up there. But you know what? I'm pretty sure I've very I don't even recall using a sub before, maybe once. So I might actually try one of my subs out.
And optional.
I kept a sub on the bench that I just thought was it's one that I know we've had a few references in this episode that have been that have come from previous episodes. You know, like Ultron Atkinson and a few other things that have been mentioned before. But going back to that, there was a character I had to have on the bench because he did me a service last time. Well, in my only win actually 2 episodes ago, and so I had to have him in any position for this very moment. It's also worth noting now I also had Evil Bill and Ted from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey because they are robots, which is also quite scary. BB-8 from Star Wars: The Force Awakens, and the Blanks from The World's End, which was a bit of an outside one, but I thought they were quite impressive robots.
Not bad.
But the sub I'm going to bring on for Johnny Five, a completely different character. I'm bringing on Ultron.
Okay.
Which is the first time that a character's been in 2 different teams. In our podcast. But he's my like, you know, he can show up at any point, and he's not. I mean, he was in defense last time, but I think he'd do a job on the wing as like a tough winger.
Yeah.
Is he stronger than Optimus Prime? I'm not sure, but I mean, he's the guy. It's James Spader who was Robert California. He's gonna put you off somehow. Any week I can play Ultron, I will.
He is coming out quite a lot. I'm to put out some different weeks where I would just see how far we can take it. Like, what if we did like Celebrity Chef Week, and you're like, well, I'll tell you what, James Spader once cooked a meal, and therefore I'm bringing Ultron into the mix.
I'd somehow get Master Chief into that.
You absolutely would. Oh, all the throwbacks. This episode is just
it's a best of.
It essentially, it's like we're wrapping up and we're saying farewell. We're not. So whether Ultron beats Optimus or not, I think is tricky. But I might also play a sub.
Oh right, that's interesting.
But you know, hey, you take these risks. Do your research, kids. So Ultron's definitely a robot. Is the Vision a robot?
I question that myself.
Did you find out the answer? Was it no? Because don't tell me if it is.
Well, in WandaVision, there is a part where he swallows chewing gum and it gets stuck in his like mechanism in his like stomach, and it's all like cogs and stuff. So surely it is. I did look it up, and he is technically a robot, but he was created by another robot, which is Ultron. You know how much I shoot myself in the foot on this podcast?
Yeah.
I think that may sort of be the other way around in this case, because surely if Vision was created by Ultron, Ultron's more powerful than Vision.
Doesn't Vision beat Ultron?
I don't remember that bit now, which is convenient.
They definitely have a fight. I thought Vision. Oh no, have I had a misstep here? I thought Vision destroyed Ultron.
He was killed off screen by Vision. There's a lot of people arguing online about whether he actually did kill him.
Oh, interesting. Well, we could move away from strength. We could move away from pure who beats who. We could look at the positions they're in. You've got Ultron on the wing. Yeah. I've got Vision at centre back. I would say my gambit in the actor stakes would be that Paul Bettany has a sports background because he starred in Wimbledon with Kirsten Dunst.
That's true.
So I think he's looking good for sport. What's Spader done?
I'll see what films James Spader's been in, and if he's been in a sport film, then I might be okay. Come on, he must be in one sport film.
frantic googling of.
I could easily make a film up now.
It's like getting independent adjudicators to have a look, and
yeah, it will come to that.
Or we could look at.
I've just found this is really pushing it. I was looking on IMDb. He hasn't been in a sport film, or at least not one that sounds like a sport film, for me to be able to find it. But in an interview with Time magazine from 2015, he said, "Baseball is the sport for me. I found the games a lot growing up were very entertaining and right up my alley."
Okay.
So he's a baseball man in real life, whereas Bettany is a sport man in a film. Would that make any difference?
Oof.
I don't know. Bettany's just pretending to like sport, whereas James Spader's he's fully into sport. Could we base it on the managers? Do you have a manager?
I do, but I'm not sure if it will count as a duplicate.
Oh.
So my manager was the T800, but it's when he's Genesis. I think it's Terminator Genesis. Sorry.
Yeah. Right.
So I was going for like the older kind of wiser. He can't really do it on the pitch anymore, but like he knows how it was meant to. So I was kind of going for like a robot with experience.
Yeah.
That's.
I mean, I guess that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that counts or not because it's the same character.
They did appear in the film together, though. That's what I was pinning my hopes on, is that you do see old Arnie and young Arnie in the same film. So they could theoretically be in the same instance of a fantasy football match. Who was your manager?
Well, I went for a really, really weird pick because I went for. Have you ever seen Rick and Morty?
Yes.
I went for the character of Heistotron.
Okay.
Who is a robot designed by Rick to plan out heists, and he just plans out perfect heists every time. And I thought, if you're stealing a point, to coin a phrase, then he's perfect because he can plan out a game plan that's perfect every time. So he's kind of undefeatable tactically.
Which would then give Ultron the edge over Vision, which means, I think, you probably take it. You take it with a managerial assist.
I mean, to be honest, when I picked Heistotron, I never thought it'd be my winning element.
No.
And this has been a rough week.
Hasn't it just 3-2?
God.
So we can run through the teams to confirm. So in goal for you was ED209 from RoboCop. Then you had the T800 young model, Terminator. Centre midfield was Roy Batty. Front you had Bender from Futurama. For me, it was the Megazord. Out wide was Johnny Five, subbed in for Ultron, who'd had a word from his manager, Heistatron. In goal, Optimus Prime at centre-back, taken off for the Vision, who didn't get as good a team talk from the old T800. My centre-back. My centre midfield was Android 17 from Dragon Ball. My winger was General Grievous, and my striker was Genos from One Punch Man. And all told, I think, looking at it on paper, I think your team does align slightly better with robots. So we've probably just about done it justice.
It's a very tough win to take because it's a very, very tough week, and we both struggled picking our teams really. But when you're 3-1 down, I'll take it as to get me just a bit closer to you.
Congrats. A great result for Rob there, coming back from 2-1 down, having to score the last 2 goals, and also making the first big play in this podcast history by using the manager and a sub at the same time. Tough one for me to take, but I'm still winning overall. And that'll do it for this week. So if you are craving a little bit more, you can find us on social media. It is at FantFantFoot on Facebook and Instagram, or at FantFantFootPod if you are on Twitter. Tweet us, all that stuff. We'd love to hear from you. And we will see you next week for another exciting edition of the Fantasy Football Podcast. Bye for now.